Hey everyone, we've noticed from watching hundreds of Lolilo games that you guys make top lane way harder than necessary. The same mistakes keep popping up, so today we're going to break down exactly what those are so you can avoid them and make top lane much easier. Let's get started. The first problem we noticed was that you guys trade way too much. I found this most common in Fiora, Riven, and Irelia players, which makes sense. But you guys essentially end up killing yourselves instead of the enemy killing you. Let me show you what I mean. In this game we have a Fiora versus Garen in gold. She walks into lane, and as the first two minions get low, she grabs one of them, then jumps in like this. Notice how she lost this trade at this point even though she procced a vital? It's because she jumped right into Garen's wave for this, so the ranged minions took a big chunk of her health. But then Garen walks up and gives her a second vital proc like this. So obviously Garen could have just taken the one trade, but decided he wanted to auto her again and give her a second vital proc. Both players made the mistake of trying to trade when they didn't even have to. Fiora should have collected all 3 last hits, then looked to contest Garen's last hits. Garen played the initial part of the trade properly, but after Fiora disengaged, he walked up and gave her a second vital proc. We're not done yet though. Garen backs up and sits behind his wave until his next wave arrives, and once it's here, Fiora does exactly what I'm talking about. She jumps in with Q, and let's pause here. Do you see what's wrong with this picture? If Fiora is going to jump into an entire wave to trade with Garen, it better be for a good reason, so let's look for one. Does she have a massive health advantage where the wave doesn't matter? Nope. Does she have a level advantage? No. Is this an insanely lopsided level 1 where she can just run Garen down? No, she's not Trundle or Urgot or Olaf. So because none of these are true, let's see how this trade goes. She jumps in, Garen autos a minion and Qs her, look how much damage she takes. Imagine if Garen autoed her, then used Q, instead of autoing a minion. Listen guys, I know Fiora is a champ that plays itself nowadays, but let's use our brain a little bit and not jump in every time we see a vital. Let's stick to some fundamentals. After this, Fiora hits level 2, and now Garen is the one who's going to trade when he shouldn't. He walks right up to Fiora, and she hits him with Q on a vital and runs away. Garen should have never went for a trade here, but you know why he did? Because look what just happened. Fiora didn't use her level 2 and stomp him here like she should have, so he doesn't even know he misplayed. Players don't get punished for these bad trades, so they continue to do them. Fiora should have went all in with her Q and E. Alright, after this, Fiora keeps pushing and hits Garen on a vital and gets away without Garen getting anything in return. If we look at the wave right now, do you see how there are no CS for Garen to go for? Not even close. All the blue minions are really healthy. That means if he walks up to the wave, it should be because he wants to fight Fiora, right? But we know that can't be right, as she has way more minions and is one minion from level 3. The takeaway here is, you don't have to walk up like this and give the enemy free chances to poke you when you have the wave pushing in and there are no CS to get. Even if there were CS to get, it's okay to just stay in experience range and give some last hits to avoid taking a lot of damage. Because Garen isn't just backing off while the wave is pushing, Fiora jumps in with Q again to hit another vital. Then as the blue cannon minion gets low, I thought Garen was going to run in and use Q on it, but he actually just runs in and tries to fight Fiora. If we pause, Garen just now popped his potion. Both of these players have been sitting on one potion and haven't used them until now. That's another big problem. But anyways, Fiora flashes in and instead of just igniting and auto-attacking Garen, she tunnels on the vitals so they both die. Garen is TP though, so this was much more worth it for him. When they get back, look at the situation. Garen is level 4 with a big wave behind him, pushing to Fiora. Fiora should never jump in here, right? Well, she doesn't. But as Fiora's wave gets here, which is a cannon wave, look what Garen does. Just runs inside the entire wave like this. Just because he has more minions way behind him doesn't mean he can do this. They won't help him when he's this deep. So naturally Fiora wins this trade. If Fiora backs off here, that's a solid one trade for her. But like I said, you guys trade way too much. Instead of backing off, she has to go into his wave now with a level disadvantage and no abilities up. Now it's Garen's turn to throw the trade back, so he chases her into her wave while she hits level 4, and she gets a vital proc. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Both players constantly just trade when they shouldn't. I get it. Nobody installs League to respect the wave and block, we all want to press buttons, but you have to know when that time is. Also, you would think neither player bought potions, since they just traded for like 20 seconds without using one, but nope, they both have potions to use. Fiora actually has 2 of them. But we're still not done, because on one hand, you guys trade way too much, but the worst thing is, you don't trade when you really should and the enemy is trolling, like we saw with the Fiora at level 2. Garen is playing scared as he walks for this cannon, but Fiora is walking up into his massive wave, so just hit her. She can't win in a wave this big. This continues for the next few CS as well. After this, Garen is walking up to the wave at level 5 in a huge wave. Does Fiora sit back and respect it? No, she jumps right into this massive cannon wave with a level and health advantage. She actually almost wins from Garen misplaying and Fiora being an obnoxious champion, but you see why she should never jump in here. Oh, and both of them still didn't use potions. You guys are making top lane so much harder than it has to be. Respect the wave, stop pressing buttons all the time, just to press them. And that's why at skillcap.com, we teach you how to carry the worst teammates imaginable. We know just how hard low elo can be. For example, the game literally needs to be played completely different in gold than what you'll see in high elo streams or pro play if you want to climb quickly. And the best part about Skillcap is that it's completely risk-free with our rank improvement guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Check out skillcap.com, the link's in the description below. Now back to the guide. Alright, let's get into the next big mistake I saw while watching the top lane, wards. I'm going to show you guys multiple bad wards I see all the time. The first are ones like this. Fiora puts a ward at her blue buff like this, and I'm sure it's because her jungler told her to do it. You guys should only place wards on a buff if they have someone like Sion that will try and cheese the buff or something. But what if my jungler gets invaded? That's not your problem. It's your jungler's job to ward and track the enemy jungler so they know how to path. For example, if Shaco thinks the enemy Graves is going to start at his red, then go to Shaco's blue, then he just needs to pay attention to who leashes bot. If the enemy bot leashes like they did in this game, Shaco knows Graves started blue, so he can't invade red before Shaco gets there. If the enemy bot didn't leash, Shaco can go from his red to the enemy blue. As a top laner, you need your wards. Fiora didn't have a ward at level 3 like she needed, and she could have easily died for it. If you die to a gank because you don't have a ward, you think your jungler cares? They would say, don't push, or something like that. You need to play for yourself as you're the only one that can carry yourself. The next warding problem I see is knowing where to put control wards. The Garen from this game goes to ward, and he puts a control ward here, then a normal ward in the tri-brush. The enemy jungler is Shaco. There are multiple issues here. First, let's talk about control wards. It's alright to put a control ward in this brush as long as Garen is planning on constantly pushing. If not, then Fiora pushes the wave and deletes it easily. If he doesn't plan on pushing, he needs to put a control ward in the tri-brush and a normal ward in this brush. So the control ward is fine, but the ward in the tri-brush makes no sense. First off, it's Shaco. And because Garen put a control ward in the river brush, it means he should be pushing like we just talked about. So if Shaco's going to gank him, it's going to be from jumping over the wall near the enemy tri-brush. The same thing would apply to a Rek'Sai or Zac or Kayn. Even junglers who can't get over that wall, but have a dash like Graves or Kindred, will jump over the other wall into the brush and cut you off. So a normal ward over the wall is really valuable. Much more valuable than a tri-brush ward where they shouldn't really gank from. This next ward is also really common. The Fiora is going to walk out a lane like this and drop a ward over the wall onto Herald. This kind of ward might seem like it's valuable, but it's not. You have to understand, your wards are to keep yourself safe. A lot of the time, if the enemy jungler is doing Herald, you shouldn't be contesting it anyways, especially in high reloads. If Fiora had a control ward in tri-brush, this ward could be alright if it was moved to in front of the Herald pit so it could see if the enemy jungler tries to gank through river. Fiora is going to pay the price for this ward later when Graves ganks about 30 seconds later through tri-brush. And when I say you probably shouldn't contest the Herald, we can see an example of this a little bit later. Fiora has a ward on Herald and Graves is doing it, but he's doing it because the enemy team is bot side, so she can't contest but tries anyways, just to lose a fourth of her health for nothing. Alright, the last major problem we're going to cover is recalls. What if I told you that you could get a lead in lane without trading at all and you just need a good recall? Let's look at this game here. We're still in gold, but the matchup is Wukong vs Aatrox. They both have Ignite. They are laning relatively evenly, with Wukong losing by just a bit of health. Wukong's jungler arrives though, so he goes into bait a fight from Aatrox. This should have been obvious, but that's not the point here. Viego proceeds with the gank and Aatrox loses a good chunk of his health. First of all, Aatrox needs to recall now. The wave is pushing to him and his next wave is here. This means he can easily get back to lane before Wukong crashes the wave on the tower. This is really important since Wukong can easily dive Aatrox with his health so low. And remember, they both don't have TP. But that's not the big lesson here, let's keep going. Aatrox doesn't recall and Wukong pushes the wave in and they trade again here. Now Wukong should focus on crashing the wave, but he goes in like this, and they trade kills. Aatrox could have actually flashed away, and he wouldn't have died, and Wukong would have. But that's also not the point. Think about this. What if Wukong crashed the wave, and since he had kind of low health, he just recalled? Aatrox would have to clear the big wave on his tower, then it would be slow pushing towards Wukong. Wukong would come back to lane with an item advantage and full health, so Aatrox would have to somehow crash the waves and get a good recall with a huge disadvantage. Basically, he would overstay and die, or recall and Wukong freezes for a huge lead. The only thing Aatrox could do was try to outplay Wukong with his big wave, but that's really hard when he lost so much health, especially against Wukong who can drop minion aggro with his clone. Do you see how much more safe and reliable that play would be? I'm not saying to not kill people or dive them when they're low. I'm just giving you a safer option when you have too little health to want to risk diving or fighting, and you crash the slow push. You can recall and do what I just talked about. Alright guys, so as you can see, you're making top lane a lot harder than it actually is, but hopefully these tips help you out. Alright, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about Skill Capped. So we offer a 5 division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well in fact that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week with over 2,000 guides curated into over 270 courses. No one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into Elo Hell over 1,100 times and counting where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month to improve fast and get the rank you've always wanted. The link's in the description below. But that's going to bring us to the end of this one. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one.